Okay, so today we're going to discuss nutrition. Um, how nutrition is not just a lifestyle, or it's a lifestyle change, not just a diet. Um, so we're going to discuss what makes up fat molecules, protein, carbohydrates, how those are metabolized. Um, talk about choices in life as far as what influences you to make certain choices in your diet and exercise. And we'll also discuss nutritional labels as we can see and see if we can really get you to fully understand um, diet in general in a quick little snippets. Alright, so today what we have here is a nutritional label, as I'm sure most of you have seen by now if you're interested in nutrition. Um, so one of the things here is we have obviously our serving size, which is 1 cup, and then we have how many servings are in this package, which is 2. Oh, let's go back here. Um, and then this is in a sample of macaroni and cheese, so obviously it's macaroni and cheese, so we'll probably have a significant number of fat, which we do have. We have 12 grams of fat. Um, but let's go back up here. And so what this means here for serving size is that means that obviously there's 2 servings or 2 cups within the given container that is in. So whether that be a can of soup or most importantly, a bottle of soda. Usually, a lot of people will presume that there's actually 1 serving within a given bottle, but typically they're actually done in 8-ounce servings. So and generally there's about, for a bottle, you can have like a 20-ounce bottle, which a lot of people consume. Um, 20-ounce plastic bottle, which a lot of people consume as 1 serving, and visualize the nutritional facts as 1 serving, which can be far misleading. So you have to make sure you pay close attention to the serving size, almost more importantly than anything else. Um, the next one we have is total calories within a system, within a serving. So we have 250, and then calories from fat, which is 110. We'll discuss later exactly how to derive the calories from fat and how they come up with calories uh, in a given amount of food. Um, so as we can see here, it says start here. I got this from Wikipedia before anyone tries to call me out. um, and then also another one here. It says limit these nutrients. So essentially, sodium is generally very easy to get an abundance of. It's extremely necessary for a lot of functions within your body. Without it, you die. Um, but because it's so abundant within our current food, uh, I would say the food industry in general, and on general also our diets, um, that it's not necessary to really pay too close attention to how much sodium you get in. Next we have cholesterol, 30 milligrams. Again, it's very easy to get a high quantity of, and our body actually produces cholesterol naturally, so it's not paramount that we consume uh, a significant number of milligrams of cholesterol, unless maybe you're a vegetarian, in which case you may need to pay closer attention to, but if you eat an egg, essentially you'll be okay. Um, as you can see here, oops, as you can see here, we also have trans fat. Now this has been publicized highly. We'll talk about why it's being demonized and hated for, uh, and then which I think we do need to limit them. Um, and then we'll also see here we have saturated fat, which is 3 grams, and then our total fat. Now, one may think we have total fat, and we also have saturated fat and trans fat, but the amount of saturated fat, which is 3 grams, and the amount of trans fat, which is 1.5, doesn't add up to 12. Um, this is because it's presumed that the other fats are either poly or mono saturated. The USDA does not require um, these specific quantities of mono or polysaturated to be provided. It does require saturated fat if it's above 0.5 grams, and the same goes for trans fat. That's actually a significant part of nutritional labels, is that anything under 0.5, um, whether it be sugar, trans fat, carbohydrates, they do not need to post. So say something like pretzels, they could be considered fat-free, when in all reality, if you read the nutritional label, it'll have something like cottonseed oil or sesame seed oil, and it will have some fat within it. Not a significant source, which is why they do not require it to be labeled, but still nonetheless, it has it, which is important for diabetics also when considering what they want to use for what they want to consume. Um, for instance, nutritional or um, let's see here, artificial sweeteners such as Splenda actually need a bulking, what's called a bulking agent, um, which is something to I know that it's scary to say bulking agent, but essentially what it does is it means that the chemical ingredient used to the artificial sweetener is so powerful that it's needed to use in very small amounts. Because of these small amounts, it becomes very, very difficult in order to actually notice if you're putting the ingredients into your coffee or your tea or what have you. Um, so what they do in order to actually show the consumer that there's something going in is they use, and to also ensure the longevity of the chemical, they put sugar in, and that actually acts to provide a sort of visual cue that the amount has gone in, and that it's within your tea or coffee, as I said. Um, so it will generate a insulin response when consumed. Um, so next we'll move on to total carbohydrates, um, which is 31. Again, you have carbohydrates. Sugar is a carbohydrate, and so is dietary fiber. Um, just dietary fiber you actually cannot process, so you do not get any calories from it. So you could actually have 5 grams of dietary fiber, and that will be also added into the total carbohydrates, but won't generate an insulin response, and may actually in fact inhibit an insulin response, because it decreases the rate at which you can absorb the sugars that are given. Um, so as we see here, there's also sugar, which is 5. That's meaning non-starch, or just disaccharides, which are just two simple sugars put together, such as fructose and glucose. Um, what the starch is, and again, it's not inputted in here, is that a starch, because it's said to be a carbohydrate, and it's supposed to be understood by the general populace that whatever's not envisioned between dietary fiber and sugar, that the rest will be what's starch, which is essentially chained disaccharides. So chain fructose and glucose. Um, so then here we also have protein, which is 5 grams. That's just as is. However, what's not included is the type of protein. So say we have here macaroni and cheese. So cheese will generally be the general biggest contributor of protein, but it does not have some of the, it is what's called an incomplete protein, so it doesn't have some of the required protein necessary for adequate growth, which is one reason why, which is the reason why vegans or vegetarians need to make sure that they have adequate amounts of beans and or legumes and grains in order to balance their lysine and can't remember the other deficient nutrient, but or deficient protein, but nonetheless they still need to balance these nutrients. Okay, so moving on. Hopefully you're not completely bored yet. See if I can move on a little faster so you don't kill yourself. Get enough of these nutrients. So obviously dietary fiber, vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium. Again, these are all very necessary and required to be put on a nutritional label. Except for dietary fiber. Dietary fiber is not required unless it exists. So say it has 0 here, you don't need to put that it's there. So then we'll jump over here, which is the daily value. Quick guide to daily value. 5% or less is low, and 20% or more is high. So this is where you'll see things like good or excellent. Good source, a quote, good source of calcium would be 10%. That is understood as a good source. And then 20 is considered to be an excellent source of a nutrient. So here, this would be an excellent source of sodium, but the food industry does not choose to say that it's an excellent source because it really isn't seen as a health benefit to have high amounts of sodium. So what we'll see here is daily value. Now what daily value is based on is it was a series of data collected, and they come up with these came up with these general numbers that 65 grams of sugar is, or 65 grams of fat is generally sufficient for someone who is moderately active and just an average person. So they took averages of hundreds of people's diets and come up with these numbers to sort of act as a guideline for everyone else. So you would know if you were on the lower end or higher end of the spectrum. So again, we'll talk about this 18, 15% as I'm reading down from top to bottom. That's not the composition. That is again in reference to this is not the composition of the food. This is in reference to this dietary guideline. As we go down to the bottom, across from the footnote here, you can see within a 2,000 calorie diet, it's suggested to be less than 65, less than 20, less than 300, less than 2,400. These are all suggested quantities to be consumed, and again, that 12 grams of fat is roughly 18% of 65. So that's how those numbers are generated. Oh, okay, so one of the biggest questions is, what is a calorie? Um, so what a calorie is the amount of energy required to raise 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Um, so what does that mean? We have to put that in perspective now. So essentially what you could do is we consume roughly about 2,000 calories a day, um, as seen in the averages before here. Um, so if the average human consumes 2,000 calories a day, or if you consume 2,000 calories a day, we consume enough energy every day to bring over 5 gallons of water to boiling from 1 degree Celsius. So if this gallon right here, the same thing that you would fill up a water bubbler with, see how big those things are. If that was at 1 degree Celsius, we could raise 5 gallons. We could raise that to boiling. Um, Now this is quite an accomplishment if you consume that. Like, that's how much energy that we have in our bodies. If you put this in perspective, and remember, if you've ever boiled any water for tea or oatmeal or something, you'll realize that you're on your oven. You have your oven on high, I'm sure, because you want that water to boil as fast as possible, because you're sick of waiting, because water takes forever to boil. It's because that water has such a high heat capacity that it takes a lot of energy in order to actually get boiling. If Again, you have that oven on high, I'm sure you've touched your oven before. You understand how hot that oven is. Um, with this understanding, you can sort of get appreciation for how much energy we expend every day, and consume every day. Um, so if you think how hot are our bodies, I mean, how long would it take that same oven, that same kitchen oven that you have in your kitchen, um, to raise 5 gallons of water to boiling? I'm sure it would take some time, possibly even close to an hour. Um, so, I mean, I hope that gives you a respect for every calorie that you consume. Another thing to consider is that a calorie, as we know it, is actually 1,000 calories. So it's what's called a kilocalorie, or a food calorie. So we consume calories, but we actually consume not enough energy to bring 1 gram of water to 1 degree Celsius, but we consume enough energy, or we know a calorie as being enough energy to raise 1,000 grams by 1 degree Celsius, or vice versa. If you're confused by any of this, don't worry. You can always use the back button, and also ask any questions in the comments, and I'll be quick to respond. So next, what influences dietary patterns? Um, so some of the obvious ones here, emotion. Um, whether you're sad, happy, you're going to be probably more apt to consume different foods than you would be in a neutral state of emotion. Um, Chocolate would be more likely in the instance of being sad or even happy. Just elevated uh, emotions can have a huge impact on what you eat. Um, Another thing has been linked strongly with obesity, is traumatic events. So these are what I've seen a lot of um, being within individuals, is that uh, one of the reasons why they use food as sort of a crutch, um, say just like alcoholism, or even maybe smoking weed or something. they use it as a crutch to get away from uh, the natural world and the world as it is. So, say someone lost their mother at a young age, someone would then probably uh, then could be so traumatized by this is that they turn towards food for comfort. Um, and food's never angry or mad at you, so you consume an abundance of food and then become dependent on food for to generate positive emotions, and it can have a huge effect on your dietary patterns. So it goes the same for bullying or for you know losing your job or anything that you can actually really have a strong, maybe not getting into college or, failing at a high school. Any of these things can have a huge impact on your dietary patterns. Now, again, hormones is also another uh, huge influence on what you eat every day. Um, we'll talk about a little bit more about those later on in the segment. um, Environment. Um, so ads on TV. There was one instance where I was watching TV with a friend, um, and a ad for Dunkin' Donuts coffee came on, and after the ad ended, her immediate reaction was, "Do you want to get some Dunkin' Donuts coffee, or some get a what was it, iced coffee?" And it killed me just how well that advertisement worked. It was there, it was placed there, and it generated, that would taste good right now, that like right about now. It's just like when you see an ad for cereal or something like that, is that it generates interest into the product, whether you had it or not. If you continue to see an ad, um, I have been subjected to it before. It generates curiosity. You keep seeing an ad for Chobani yogurt or Faga. I'm not pronouncing it right. Yogurt. Like the the cow ad. It was a miraculous ad in which a cow bursted through liquid. I don't know if I'm rambling here, but it was in any event, it was a fantastic ad that generated a lot of interest, and it was because of that ad that I decided to go and purchase this product out of curiosity. What was so great about it? And it was a delicious product, but it's just another instance of how environments can influence your dietary patterns. Another big one is friends. So what your friends do. If your friends go, after school to eat at McDonald's, you're gonna go after school to eat at McDonald's. Now you can say that you're gonna not go there, you're gonna not eat, but it's really difficult if you're hungry to not to say, oh, I'm gonna hold out until I'm back at the house, or I'm just gonna eat the salad or something. Because if you're with your friends and if you're a guy, you're not gonna sit there and just eat the salad. On top of the fact, though, that if you put a bunch of dressing on, it's no better than anything else you're eating there. Um, but it's really difficult to make the right choices when your friends are often not as wary about their their physical fitness as you might be because of uh, your set weight right now. Um, so make sure that if you're going to make changes in your life, if you're going to try and change your dietary patterns, that you also look to see how your friends are affecting every choice that you make for where you go out to eat, when you eat, and how you eat. Another one is where you live. There's these many instances. There's food deserts. So in cities, uh, it's very difficult to actually acquire produce. So it it can be very difficult to eat correctly when obviously if it's not accessible to you, you can't do it. So where you live has a huge influence on what you eat, both culturally and speaking from an accessibility standpoint too. The next, satiety. So this is the feeling of fullness. So if you're full, obviously you'd be more apt to pass by that candy machine and say, I don't need the Snickers bar. If you're starving, you miss breakfast. If you are just haven't eaten in an extended period of time, you're obviously going to be easier to convince, or you're going to look at that candy bar now with vigor. You want to eat that because you're hungry. So obviously I'd eat the candy bar, but it doesn't generate enough satiety. So then you're still hungry right after you eat a Snickers bar or something like that, or a Kit Kat. But you just eat these high caloric, not very satisfying meals, and the calories rack up really quickly. So making sure you're full in situations where it's easy to be subjected to advertisement or bad choices um, is very important. So make sure you're full when you should be. So eat your breakfast because it'll be essential to making better choices throughout the day, which has been proven uh, generally, or sorry, I shouldn't say proven, but is why many people suggest to eat breakfast in the morning, among also having the appropriate energy levels, so learning and cognitive function in the classroom. Age. Um, as you age, I'm sure many of you know that your taste buds change, um, and you begin to acquire different taste for food. So for me specifically, it took me an extended period of time before I liked tomatoes. I didn't finally like tomatoes until I had them in my friend's garden, and the very very best of that can be. And I had a plum tomato from there, or cherry tomato, and I was infatuated by it. And from that point on, I loved tomatoes. But where you are in your life has a huge influence on how you eat. As you age, you're within your later years, you're much later, 65s, 50s, 65s or so, your taste buds begin to dull, especially if you're a smoker. And so then you'll use more salt, more pepper. You'll essentially uh, you'll be eating less healthy and experiencing less satisfaction out of the food as you age. So and then when you're in your younger years, you're going to be more apt for sugar because you haven't developed a taste for the different chemicals in, like cinnamon, spices, and those other sort of phytochemicals that are in the food, and flavor chemicals, phenols that are in food that really attribute to the flavor. Um, it's simple. We've as we are first born, we're programmed to like sweet things. We're programmed to like things with a high amount of calories. Uh, if we know nothing else, that's why breast milk is easily consumed because it's sweet and also fattening, and we like it. Imagine if kids didn't like breast milk, they wouldn't eat it or they wouldn't drink it. So um, you have to make sure that if you're coming into this world, that the body has adapted to say, you like sweet and you like fat because you need these things to survive to give you calories. So uh, make sure you know that. And also flavors have been associated with bitterness being bad because it could be poisonous, or things of that nature. That's one reason why some people stay away from certain flavors uh, from a genetic standpoint. Taste qualities are far-reaching, but their taste preferences are far-reaching, but those are some genetic standpoints to stay from. Also, there's individuals who are called super tasters, which actually have more slash bigger taste buds than other individuals, so they are more sensitive to flavors. Uh, then that's from a genetic standpoint. You can't necessarily really generate more flavor taste buds, or taste buds, I should say. So the next influence is activity level. So if you're more active, you're going to be consuming more foods. Also, you're going to be consuming, or you should be consuming, more carbohydrates, and well, essentially everything on a much larger scale. But specifically, if you're like a runner or something like that, if you're a sprinter, if if you're not doing, like, if you're walking or doing just a lot of um, standard, like, mowing the lawn, those types of daily activities, you may not be consuming as many carbohydrates as some individual, like, say, a basketball player or something like that. We'll get into that a little bit. So here we have calories, caloric nutrients. So a gram of 1 gram of fat generates 9 calories. So if we go up here, we have 14, or we have 12, sorry. So we have 12 calories, or 12 grams. And if we do the math out here, you will see that 9 times 12 is roughly 110 calories. So that's how they get how many calories are from fat. They just simply multiply 9 times um, the given amount of total fat. So then we also have 4 grams from sugar, which is the same as saying 4 grams from carbohydrates. So then we have 110, or 110 plus 3 times 31 times 4, which is 124. And then we also have protein, which is 4 calories times 5, so that's 20. So it's 110 plus 220, or 124. And that gives you roughly 150 or so. It's not perfect because of the way that different fat molecules are actually longer than others. So if you have a particular lengthy fat molecule, you'll actually have a more dense fat molecule. So you will have a varied amount of calories per gram. Um, but and the reason why these general numbers, 9, 4, 4, and 7, which is the amount for carbohydrate or alcohol, 7, is that the way typically a big food manufacturers will actually derive how many calories in a food product is that they'll put it through a bomb calorimeter. So essentially what they do is they um, burn the food, and the amount of energy, once ignited, the amount of energy that goes into heating the water that's there, will, once they see the temperature, the water at the start of the experiment and at the end, they can get a general understanding of how much energy has gone into the system. and then can extrapolate that into how many calories that individual would be consuming if they consume that amount of food. Um, so again, they they a big food company will have an experiment where they'll burn the food, raise the temperature of water, find the difference between the temperatures of water at the start and then find the temperatures at the end, and then whatever energy went into the water is said to be energy uh, for the energy generated from the food. Um, Hopefully you can follow that. If not, let me know. Uh, Guinness. I love this, but it's just so bad for you. Um, yeah, I made mudslides, and I figure I'd say that everyone's allowed some sin, and a mudslide here and there. It's not the worst thing for you in the world um, if you're consuming it in moderation. And this just stresses the idea of moderation. But it's when you're drinking alcohol, it's typical that you would consume something like, if you're drinking like Bud Lights or Budweisers, you consume 8 beers, and that's actually a lot of calories if you were to observe nutrition facts on um, a Budweiser or something like that, because it's not actually necessary or legalized um, or illegal to not print the caloric content on the back of an alcoholic beverage. You don't need to know that um, as far as the government is concerned. So it's something that you need to pay really close attention to, and something that may strike you as a surprise. It can actually consume, and even in the Bud Light variety, about 100 calories per can. So if you're going out for the night and you're consuming, say, 10 beers, 10 beers, that's, as you can do the math, I'm sure, 800 to like 1,000 calories. Um, so you're consuming half your calories from alcohol, and you're probably still eating similarly, or if not more, because you're intoxicated. And you go for slices of pizza every day, and you don't want to cook because you're drunk, so you just eat probably the worst crap for you in an instance where your um, cognitive function is not exactly 100%. So just pay attention to what you consume in alcohol. It can actually have a huge impact for those over 21 and possibly under, to why you have gained a lot more weight in recent years. So we'll talk about non-caloric nutrients. So iron, vitamin vitamin B, vitamin A, calcium, vitamin D, vitamin C, etc. These are all non-caloric nutrients. But iron and vitamin B, amongst other nutrients, can actually, despite the fact of being not having calories, not having actual energy, um, they can still have a huge impact on your energy level. Say, in the instance of iron, if you don't have enough iron in your system, which is called anemic, what is happening to you is that you're not getting enough oxygen into you're not getting enough oxygen into your blood, because iron is used to attach oxygen into the cell, heme iron to be specific. Um, and so if you don't have enough oxygen in your blood, you can't uh, obviously function properly. Your body needs oxygen to function. Um, so if you have diminished amount of oxygen, your body essentially kind of runs at a lower RPM. So you're tired more often, and you're not operating at 100%. So you may have all this fat and all this, all these carbohydrates in your system, and you're like, why aren't I energized? Am I not, enthusiastic about my day, it could be because you have a vitamin deficiency or a mineral deficiencies. Say like in vitamin B, those are used for the most part to help catalyze metabolic uh, reactions so that you can access the energy in food more efficiently. So it's essential that if you're trying to maintain proper energy levels, that and not be tired every day, that you consume not only enough calories but also consume the appropriate number of nutrients, uh, micronutrients, which is what minerals and vitamins are. So fat, we'll quickly try and do, I don't know how much time you're going to really spend watching this, but hopefully a lot. Um, so now we'll discuss fat. So fat is the densest form of energy, which is why our body uses it. Um, because if we're trying to carry around, you know, energy to utilize in our daily lives, that our body has decided that fat, being that it's the densest form of energy, is the most appropriate for storage. Um, so if you were to actually try and say store a pound of carbohydrates compared to, or if you try to store the same amount of energy that's in a pound of fat compared to a pound of carbohydrates, you'd weigh over twice as much. Going back to what we have here, so 4 grams for sugar or carbohydrates and 9 calories per gram for fat. So if you weigh, if you have, um, you know, 50 grams of, or if you have 50 pounds of fat on you, in reality, you'd have 100 grams of carbohydrates on you if your body stored it that way. So clearly, weighing twice as much, your body really recognized that as not a good thing, and there's a more efficient means of doing it. So it has decided to do uh, fat as a means of storage, because you need to move. So, uh, so used fat is used most during slow rate exercise. So this is another important idea of the metabolic system, your body. It's burning fat. It's burning fat, sugar, and protein all at the same time, but it's burning them at different ratios. Um, as I say here, fat is burned more during minimum exercise. So if you're walking or if you're lazing about, you're burning a higher ratio of fat. Now it's important though that just because you're burning a higher ratio of fat does not mean that you're burning more fat than if you exercise. If you exercise, if you do something like a run, um, you may be burning more carbohydrates than you're burning fat as a ratio perspective. But if compared to someone who's just sitting around, they may be burning fat more efficiently, but they're not burning fat at the same rate as you. So that may be a little confusing, but we're burning someone who's exercising is burning far more overall calories, and that makes up for the efficiency loss when compared to someone who's not exercising. Um, this is why a lot of treadmills have that fat burning zone, which is lower than something like cardiovascular training or something like that. Um, this is because fat is burned more slowly, but what that zone is supposed to do is that it's supposed to find that happy medium between burning the highest amount of fat while still burning the highest amount of total calories. Um, okay, on to the next bullet here. Makes up the membrane of every cell in the body. So this is a very important function of fat, is that it's there for insulation, um, and also hormones. And so then, you need fat. If you have no fat in your body's not going to function properly. Obviously, it's there for a reason. Um, and like it says here, every single cell in your body is made up of a semi-permeable membrane, a bilipid membrane at the same time. Semi-permeable bilipid membrane. Um, lipids are called fat. So lipids are fat. Um, so that's every cell, it's necessary to have fat in your body. So don't hate fat because it's needed. You need fat. You just need the right amount of fat. So the other thing we'll talk about is visceral fat. So this is fat seen around the stomach, um, which just covers up your organs. Your organs around your stomach. And this is seen as the worst kind of fat. The fat that is normally seen in, uh, you know, a beer belly or something of that nature. Um, it's more common in men than women. Women have more of a pear-shaped fat distribution, being within their ass or butt, I should say, and their thighs, along with their breasts. These are some of where your fat gets distributed compared to, this is how men and women differ. Um, again, we'll go down here and look at the next bullet. So where's where's the ideal level of fat? Where am I at? Where do I have too much fat? Where do I have too little fat? So if you have about 18 to 24% body fat, then and you're a man, that's where you need to be. Somewhere within that region to be to be considered healthy. You can go lower if you want to get really lean, but as a general standpoint, you don't need to hate yourself if you're at 18 to 24% body fat. You're in that happy medium as far as being adequately fit and not obese or anything of that nature. You're right on the money. And now women get to be larger for a variety of reasons, being both um, maternal. So if you're a woman, you need to give birth to a baby. You have a lot more needs for calories and uh, hormone balances, and so and on top of the fact that you also have boobs and generally have a much bigger butt than men, so you need fat in order to your body has fat in these regions specifically because that's how your body has been designed. So if you have a higher amount of fat, that's perfectly fine compared to a man. Men are, because of testosterone, are leaner than women. They have more muscle mass than women. And this is one of the reasons why men, when going on diets, if you're doing like a honey, like a marriage diet or something like that, and you guys are both working out, the men will lose weight much faster because of, typically, because of the high amount of um, muscle mass with an individual man, whereas women don't have as much muscle mass, so they will not lose fat as quickly. Um, so I'm getting sick of hearing myself talk though, but let's talk a little bit about the kinds of fat out there. So omega 3 and omega 6. Um, these are where the double bonds are. If we want to go ahead and refer back to this here, this image, not back to, but to the right of. If you count in 1, 2, 3, that's where the omega 3 is. This is where you would have a double bond, so something like this. This is at the monosaturated fat. If you have this double bond at the third carbon, that's what we consider to be omega 3, and then omega 6 is at the sixth carbon. So that's all that an omega 3 or omega 6 really means. It's just where the double bond is. As we can also see here, saturated fat. What is saturated fat compared to monosaturated fat? Saturated fat is just simply completely covered in hydrogens. Monosaturated fat has one double bond through its carbon structure, and polysaturated fat has more than one within its structure. Now I will say this too, is that I am not perfect, and there may be some instances where I may make mistakes, and please call me out on them, and let me know. And this is strictly for educational purposes only. Definitely see a doctor before you make any choices later on your dietary behavior. So total cholesterol should be 150 milligrams per deciliter. So there's different varieties of cholesterol. So there's high density cholesterol, which is HDL. It's just the amount of protein within a this essentially the cell of cholesterol. So there are droplets of cholesterol, and they are made up of a certain number of fat and protein. When we say HDL, we're referring to the amount of protein compared to fat within the cholesterol droplet. For HDL, you have high density cholesterol, and meaning high density lipids. So you have more protein within the HDL than something like LDL or VLDL, which is VLDL is very low, and LDL is like low density. As you can see, we have different numbers. You want more than 40 for high density, and then less than 100 for LDL. VLDL is seen as bad, so we want less than that, than 40. And then total triglycerides within the system, less than 150. Okay, so we'll move on to sugar. Accessed most during rapid rate exercise, so say a sprint, or playing basketball or something like that. You'll be using, because of those quick movements, because of the way your body can access the sugar molecules. You can you'll use those faster, and compared to lipids, and so that's why you'll be most likely to use the sugars, because your body's demanding energy quickly, so it's going to use what it can use quickly, obviously. So this is explained here within, there's 300 grams stored in the liver and muscles. So generally you'll have about 300 grams in your body of if you're adequately nourished, of carbohydrates in the form of glycogen. So glycogen is branched, and because of the branching, it allows for rapid. It allows for the enzymes to go after the glycogen and remove it from itself and use it for energy. Glycogen is a polysaccharide of carbohydrates, which are actually a simple sugar in this case, not a uh, not a disaccharide. It's a monosaccharide. And instead of being made up of fructose and glucose, which is what table sugar is made up of, it's made up of only glucose, which is called also blood sugar. So becomes fat through insulin secretion. So the way the body, if you have seen this, like, oh, I can never get fat, if some people, not a lot of people, no, it was once sort of thought that if you removed all the fat from the body or from the diet, that you wouldn't get fat because you don't how the body can't convert sugar to fat, but it can. It does this. It does this through insulin. So when you consume an elevated amount of sugar, um, your body, or when you consume sugar, your body will secrete insulin and then bring that sugar into the body and for either storage or fat conversion. Um, Depending upon how much sugar you consume at a given time, if you consume, like, say, a pixie stick, you'll have extremely high levels of insulin, um, and then so a lot of that sugar is just being shunted straight towards storage, opposed to, because your body doesn't need to use the energy at that time. So because it doesn't need the energy, it'll move that energy into storage for a later time. And the long-term storage being fat, because fat is more efficient. Okay, so now we also have so the normal blood sugar range is from like 70 to 100 milligrams. That's where you want to be around. After eating, it's around 135 to 145. So obviously you'll have elevated insulin when you consume a food, uh, depending upon how elevated that gets, or your response, how exaggerated your response is. That will tell you if you're diabetic. Also, if you're, you know, hanging out at 250 milligrams of blood sugar uh, in your body, that tells the doctor that your body isn't properly dealing with the sugar and shunting it into storage systems. It's just letting it sit there, and it's not effectively acting to to for storage. Sorry, I'm getting a little tired, so I'm kind of rambling a bit. But you can see why, and having elevated level of blood sugar can lead to gangrene, and then it can also destroy neurological functions within the body. So you want to have lower levels of sugar than in your body, because it can actually have detrimental effects to it. Um, Again, blood sugar is glucose, high-end isolate spikes, sugar coma. So if you, like I said before, if you sat there and you try to down a whole 36-inch pixie stick in one day, or in one sitting really quick because you think you're a badass, um, you'll quickly realize that your body can't properly process that much sugar, and you feel exhausted, really crappy, um, just because you have extremely high levels of sugar, and then your body recognizes that and then removes all the sugar from your system, and in some cases over exaggerates how much sugar it takes out of your system, and because you need sugar within your blood to properly function, for your brain to properly function, sometimes that gets hurt because of the high insulin, because it removes so much sugar out of your system that it now doesn't have that happy medium that it needs to stay alert and awake. Um, so okay, now complex versus simple. So insulin is how your body converts sugar to fat. Complex carbohydrates have a more complex makeup, so the body cannot break down the structures as fast. Lower insulin spikes. This is why glycogen is goes in your body very quickly, opposed to starch. Um, and but it's also in the same instance that, like, a baked potato will be higher level, give you higher insulin spike than a regular potato, because not necessarily the chemical makeup of it still has the same amount of sugar and the same amount of fiber, but because of the heating process, you have now broken up the bonds within the starch molecules of the potato, and now it's easier for your body to pick up the starch. Uh, or now glycogen. Okay, so let's move on here. So simple. So yeah, simple are small parts of starch that are not held together strongly or at all. And then some bonds um, cannot be broken and used for energy. So cellulose uh, have a certain type of bond structure that does not allow for our digestive enzymes um, to act on it, and therefore, because we cannot break apart these bonds, we cannot access its energy. So obviously termites can, they eat wood, so they have the proper uh, biochemical makeup to digest cellulose, which is what plants are made up of. Actually, termites use bacteria to digest that. They don't have their own enzymes. So protein is accessed. So if you don't have um, fat or sugar in your body, if you're completely deprived of every nutrient, then your body is going to start using protein. It uses protein the least amount, not because because for two reasons. Because all protein is functional, so any protein in your body is doing something. Fat is just sitting, a lot of times is sitting around. Yes, it has stored amounts of vitamins, and it does act on it is acting for you know hormones in your system, and amongst other things. But generally, a lot of fat is simply sitting in your body, waiting to be used for energy. It's not doing a whole lot. Whereas protein is making up your eyes, um, your hair, your fingernails. Um, uh, every part of your body has some amount of protein, and usually a significant amount of protein within it, and it is there for a reason because it is necessary. Um, so, in order to access that energy, unlike fat, where it just says, "Hey, I need energy," I'm going to take you away. Um, in the instance of you trying to use protein, your body has to say, "I'm starving. I need energy. I'm going to have to break you apart, break you down, and then use whatever I can for energy." And that actually, that breaking down process is a lot less efficient um, than trying to break down fat within your body, making accessing protein very inefficient means of trying to gain energy. Um, so the other thing is protein is needed for muscle repair. So if you say you're going on a low protein diet or a low carb diet, and you're going to be destroying your uh, your protein sources because your body has no fat or sugar in your system, or it has no sugar in your system. It just has fat and carbohydrates to act on, or fat and protein to act on. So it's going to be using a lot of more protein than it otherwise would have, and it's destroying your muscle tissue. And I consider this to be one of the worst ways to diet, because if that is the case, then now you're destroying your ability to uh, burn fat without doing anything, because uh, muscle just sitting around requires energy to be there. Fat doesn't require any energy to just it just can hang out without doing anything. Protein, because it's all functional, it's all necessary. Um, you know, something that's muscle that's in your bicep or in your quadricep. It, if it's just sitting there, it needs energy to sustain its longevity, its presence. So you're burning energy without having to do anything. So the more the bigger your muscles are, and the more the denser your muscles are, the more energy you can burn without having to do any work. So um, you're destroying that by going on diets that attack or your protein reserves. You then attacked or restricted, I should say, also restricted specific nutrient restrictions. Um, you're going to have some sort of sacrifice as far as how your body functions. That's why overall calorie restrictions within a moderate level are probably the best means to approach weight loss. Um, so again, all proteins are functional. Burning the pounds. So there is about 350 calories per pound of fat. So if you think you can burn a pound of fat in a day, you are sadly mistaken. That is, majority of it is just water loss. Um, so um, some of the biggest things you'll need to do, if you realize if you ran on a treadmill for 20 minutes, you only burned 100 calories, and some of it's from carbohydrates and some of it's from protein, and so maybe only um, 80 or 60 grams of that, 60 to 80 grams of that was actually calories from fat, and you ran for 20 minutes, and and then I'm telling you that there's 350 calories per gram of fat. So how else can I approach this? What is the best way to lose weight? Because it's really difficult from a perspective of trying to just exercise your ass off, essentially, um, to lower weight. It doesn't seem feasible, which is why increasing your resting metabolic weight, or the amount of uh, the amount of muscle you have in your system is so important. So another way of doing this too is also the way you eat. So increase your metabolic rate. So caffeine will up your metabolic rate, and so will cinnamon. Um, However, I don't like something like Black Mamba pills or something like that. It's super high caffeination, because your body will adapt and adjust to these doses, and then it will mitigate the effect, and then you'll become actually dependent upon caffeine to get through your workout or something like that. This is one reason why I hate pre-workouts, is because of the dependency that comes about when using them. Um, so again, it's important to exercise. It's also important to realize uh, that you know that pound of that when someone says, "Oh, you can lose a pound a day on this diet," you're the reason why you'll stop losing weight after you know 3 days is because essentially you've sweat out all the water. um, and that's one reason why you'll gain that weight from that diet back so quickly, is because it's simply the majority of it is just water weight that you've lost out. Um, again the same reason. If you cut out carbohydrates, you're going to carbohydrates store water in your system. So if you're cutting out carbohydrates, then uh, you're losing the water storages uh, from the water that's bonded to the sugar molecules, and then you're losing that weight, and then amongst other that excess weight, because you're just now getting 0 calories from the carbohydrates, and now also exercising your ass off. So you're depleting the amount of water in your system to even dangerous levels, and that's why you're losing weight, is because you're you know running yourself bone dry, which is an awful way to really approach the situation, because you're not losing weight really, because you'll gain that back in a second, and you won't really look any better. It's just it looks better on the scale. What you want to do is you want to actually burn the calories, the fat calories, not burn or not excrete water. So be very careful about those diets. I hope I'm making sense here. So uh, body resists change, like I said. When you're hungry, you're asked to eat. Regular exposure to caffeine, you become normalized. The stimulating effect drops off. Calorie restriction results in a drop in metabolic rate slash energy. Um, so eat more meals. So just you eat more meals. Essentially, would be the best way to increase uh, your metabolic rate. Um, but uh, so what I'm saying here is, in the instance of saying, okay, if I am um, if I am trying to lose weight, I want to take all the calories out of my diet. I'll just go on a fast. The reason why this doesn't work is because your body recognizes that there's no calories going into it, and your body gets scared essentially, and goes, "Oh crap, there's no food coming into me." So it goes into hibernation. It slows its metabolic rate, and then you become tired, and though you may have energy within your system as far as uh, fat and your carbohydrates, it's not new energy, and your body recognizes a state of starvation, because if there's nothing new coming in, then it means that it needs to hold on to what you have now so much more. I think if you were told that you're never going to eat again, you're gonna say, "Oh, well, I have to make sure I conserve as much energy as I can to make sure I last as long as I can." So you'll lie down and everything, and that's what your body does naturally. That's what your body has adapted to do. Is it says, okay, in a state of restriction, so don't consume, or don't expend a lot of energy. So it's really difficult to exercise, and then your body also says, okay, don't do any of the natural functions as far as uh, your resting metabolic rate, resting metabolic rate will drop off, and you'll run at a lower RPM basically. And that's why eating more meals is better, because it makes sure that your body avoids this restriction uh, point. So whenever your body's hungry, it's going into a state of there's not much around, I'm going to restrict how much energy I'm expending. But if every time you're hungry, you're eating, that means that you're avoiding this restriction point, and then you're allowing yourself to also feel full when you're eating the proper meals. And then when I'm saying, like, oh, make sure you eat more meals a day, I'm not saying eat more Kit Kats in a day. I'm saying eat more meals. So, like, eat more, chicken salads, eat, like, chicken burrito, or, you know, eggs in the morning, and then also a hard-boiled egg in the afternoon. I'm saying put more real food into your system, so then you can also have that feeling of fullness longer, and then your body avoids this restriction standpoint. Hormones. So there's the long-term standpoint, what says to your body that we're good, we have enough fat in our system. This is leptin. So this will tell your body that um, you don't need any calories right now. And there's also ghrelin. This is the short-term craving. So this is like what you'll see if you or what this is what becomes elevated. Uh, this is what becomes elevated um, when you see a candy bar or something like that. You go in a little bit more detail about the hormones and how they impact your daily choices, such as some people have uh, leptin insensitivities, or so they're not sensitive to leptin. So their body may be, such as in the instance of obese people, a lot of times their body is excreting leptin and telling, I have enough fat, I have enough fat. But your body also, that's just a signal that's being sent out. Your body also has to listen to that signal, which a lot of times is what happens, or what doesn't happen, I should say, in obese people. They become uh, they become resistant. So they're just like someone becomes insulin resistant. Some people become leptin resistant, and so they can't hear that their body's trying to tell itself that it's full. So if and if you can't listen to that, obviously you're going to continue to eat more and more food. Um, so that's one of the instances that hormones can uh, truly impact how you eat in every day, and how they can also screw up and not function properly to make you a better person. That's what they're designed to do. They're designed for balance, but they a lot of times, some of the times, they don't work. Especially if you're in the instance now is that come, uh, we're trying to make our body a body that is um, used to prehistoric times, or BC and such, where calories weren't as prevalent, and now we have all these calories. It's an entirely different situation, and our body has not been able to adapt long term, and the idea of long term adaptation, to make the proper correction. There's not been enough natural selection, I should say, in order to adequately deal with this with the excess calorie problem. So here's some food tips. Protein is the most filling, especially when mixed with water. So protein shakes are an excellent way to stay full. Um, Fiber is filling, so eat high fiber foods, whole grains to sustain a feeling of fullness. Uh, Sometimes it's hard to find the time in the day to make a meal, to make the right choice. But if you do a weekly uh, meal cooking, so if you have that Saturday night from 8 to 10, just cook a crap ton of food that can last a week, and then put it in Tupperware and just say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then just make huge huge big batches of meals for an entire week, because oftentimes it's more difficult to make a variety of smaller meals than it is to, because you have to get yourself in the kitchen, get all the utilities out, and it's really difficult to do that. But it's much easier to say, okay, I'll make you know a monstrous bowl of salad today, and that'll be it for the next couple weeks. It's because it's just that way you only have to get the utensils and find the time, once a week, opposed to every day. Um, so one great way to do this is just learn 3 well-rounded recipes that you can well-rounded nutritionally, uh, that you can just cook quickly, and you have fun doing, and that taste great. It requires the first, I think that's the biggest thing, is there's a learning curve for everything, and dieting is no different, or I should say, you know, making the right lifestyle choices is no different. And it's really important that you learn a couple meals that you can cook every day that you can depend on, so that you can become a really healthy individual. And it takes a lot of time at first to find foods that you'll like, but get suggestions from friends, family, and then even nutritional experts too. Ask them, what should I cook? Steak, uh, sweet potato, and asparagus with a side of salad. That'd be a delicious meal. Or like a salmon. You get a salmon and then throw that on top of like a tomato, basil, mozzarella thing, or do something crazy with it. Probably not cheese and seafood, but you could do. There's a variety of different options, and the last thing you want to do is be paralyzed by choice. Um, so I know there's a lot of choices out there for you, but sometimes you can get some really good leads through friends and family and nutritional experts. So take those, try and get three good recipes, and then use those sources, and it might help you be specific and focused on your goals. Um, instead of adding pepper, or instead of adding salt to everything, try adding spices. So you could try adding some sort of like uh, sesame, or not sesame, sorry. Try to add cinnamon, or pepper, or uh, red peppers, or something like that too, because it can add. If you get focused on the only way to get flavor is to put fat, sugar, and salt into something, then you come up with something very bland. It's really a lot of spices and zests and basil. They have phytochemicals and natural chemicals in them that are very good for your body, and they can have a huge impact on the flavor that you can generate out of a system. Rosemary. Um, those can have a much more interesting meal if you go beyond the world of oil, fat, or oil, sugar, and salt. which is what McDonald's and 90% of the fast food chains do. Is they just put fat, sugar, and salt into its system, and we like it. So, but there's a much more interesting world out there that you need to explore for yourself, because it's a healthier one and it's a more rich and beautiful one. I say another one of the biggest tips I could probably give you is a buddy system. Like I had said before, the environment in which you're in has a huge impact on your eating habits, uh, possibly one of the biggest. So, if you have someone to, you know, if you're with a group of friends and you're trying to say, "Oh, I'm gonna eat healthy today," then your friends are gonna could give you a ton of shit if you're a guy or something like that, or just say, "Oh, you're gonna eat shitty anyways." But if you and your other fat friend, or if you and your other um, uh, significant other or something like that say, "You know what, today I want to lose weight," and you're with your friends and you're like, then you guys can sort of lean on each other's shoulders and stand each other up, and stand up to your friends and say, well, this is what we're gonna do, and you can, because you can have someone there for you to support you. It's a lot easier to make healthy decisions, even amongst when even amongst those who may not be making the best decisions for themselves. So the last thing I can say is, food is your friend, not your enemy. Um, don't hate food. Love food. It has done a lot for you, and can do a lot more for you. And just because you may be fat, don't say that food is the worst thing in the world, or don't hate food. A positive relationship with food is essential for life. It's involved in basically every event that you do, whether it be a wedding, whether it be going out with friends, going to dinner with a loved one, um, uh, going to a banquet, going to a conference. There's food is the big. If you're trying to get people to go anywhere, do anything, come to anything, what do you say? I got an apple pie. I got pizza. Food is the incentive for life. So never forget that, and just make sure you make the best choices you can. Okay. Have a great night, guys, or day, or whatever it is, and best of luck to you in your dieting